What's going on YouTube? My name is Derek. Welcome to my channel. This is going to be part one of my track day mini series with my first track day coming up this weekend. It's currently Monday, but my first track day of the season is coming up this weekend. And I figured it'd be a good idea to do a little track day mini series, starting with bike prep and then trailer prep, or what's in my track day trailer. And then once we get to the track, we'll do a bunch of stuff. You know, we'll prep the area and the bike, your camper and things of that nature. We'll go through tech, we'll do the driver's meeting, and then we'll get some footage of me actually riding on the track. So this is part one. Welcome back, guys. So this is day one of my track day prep. So as I mentioned, I have my first track day of the season coming up. It's late May, and I'm riding with Tony's Track Days at Palmer Motorsports Park. And I need to get my bike, my trailer, my RV, myself, all ready for this weekend. It's a two-day event, and I'll be there both days, Saturday and Sunday. And I just figured I'd share with you how I prep my bike, how I get my trailer ready, what I take with me, and then how I do the track days. So first off, some of the things that I do in my track day prep will apply to everyone, or should apply to everyone. Other things, not so much, because everyone is a little bit different, depending on how far you're traveling to your track day, depending on your situation. I have a dedicated track bike, a trailer, and an RV. Some people don't have that. They just have their street bike. And I've actually seen people drive to the track, prep the bike to get it through tech, do the track day, undo everything they did to get it through prep, you know, putting the mirrors and things back on, taking the tape off the headlights and taillights and stuff like that, and then ride their bike home. Perfectly fine. Other people have a huge rig and they bring multiple bikes and they do a whole bunch of stuff. So everyone's prep, not just bike prep, but trailer prep and so forth, is a little bit different. So this is what I do. So for me, I like to start my bike prep no later than a week before my track day. Why? Because in my opinion, if you're prepping the day before your track day or the night before your track day, that's last minute stuff and you're bound to forget something, and you'll get to the track and either you or your bike won't be ready, or you'll be missing something and you'll need to borrow it from a friend, or you need to run to the store, or you'll have to do without. Either way, you're not going to be ready for your track day. And I like to avoid that stuff. If you ever watch any of my other track day videos, you guys know that overkill is my specialty. I love to be at the track with everything that I possibly could need just in case. So have it and not need it is better than needing it and not having it, in my opinion. So that's what I do. So it's Monday. It's a week out, roughly-ish. Like I said, it's Monday. And we're going to go through the stuff that I've already done on this bike. And again, some of the stuff applies to you, some of it will not, so take what you need from it. So let's get going. This is my 2011 BMW S1000RR dedicated track bike. It is not street legal. It doesn't have any headlights, taillights, turn signals, any emissions controls, or anything like that. So it's completely a dedicated track bike. I trailer this to the track, and it only sees track days for the most part. I will talk about that in a minute. But bike prep. So the first thing you want to do to prep your bike is you want to go out to the website of the track day organization that you're riding with and check what they require to prep your bike. Most of them will be either identical or pretty similar in the things that they require. So you want to do that first. Go out there, figure out what your bike needs, what you need, just in case they're a little bit different. The track day organizations where I am are Tony's Track Days, Fishtail, and Penguin. Now, completely unrelated to prepping your bike, all three of those organizations out here operate as a school, meaning they have instructors, there's a curriculum, there's some classroom time, and so forth, which means that if you're riding your street bike on a track day or an event like that, your bike most likely is still covered under your insurance. Now, I mention that because One of the biggest barriers to entry to doing track days for a lot of people is they say, oh, I don't have a track bike, I just have my street bike, and if I drop it, I'm screwed. Well, out here, not all track day events you need to check, but all the organizations out here operate as schools. And if you're doing any type of training, most insurance companies still cover your bike. Doesn't make any difference whether that training is at a parking lot or on a racetrack or what have you. If there is instructors and there's a curriculum, your bike is most likely, you and your bike are still covered. So you need to call your insurance company, double check with that, but that should not be a barrier to prevent you from doing track days. So FYI. So anyway, go out to the website, check your track day organizations and see what they require for you to prep your bike. That way you'll get to the track day, you'll get to tech, and you'll know exactly what they're going to be checking. So for me, what we start with is we start with tires. Tires are one of the most important things on your bike. You want to check your tires to make sure that you have plenty of tread. You want to make sure that they're not worn, they're not cracked, they don't have any flat spots. You want to make sure that the tire is not down to the wear marks. Now, for me, last week I mounted my brand new Metzler Racetech TD tires. So these are a track day specific tire. I'm pretty excited because I'm trying these out for the first time. I'm really interested to see how they go. So tires, make sure your tires are on point. My track day organizations requires that I tape over my wheel weights. So I got the tires mounted and all balanced, and I have already taped over the wheel weights, front and rear. The next thing you want to check out is your chain. You want to make sure that your chain is not too tight or not too loose. So I recently cleaned, lubed, and adjusted the chain. One of the things that they are going to check through tech inspection is they're going to check the chain. They're going to make sure that it's not too tight. Loose chain is better than an overly tight chain. If you want to know why, just Google it. Trust me, there's lots of information about that. The next thing I did is you want to check your fluids. So I recently changed the oil and the filter in this bike, and I flushed the coolant because this bike has been sitting for several months. So again, this is my first track day of the year. My last track day was last September, so this bike has been sitting for 6-7 months in storage. So you want to, if you haven't already done that, do an oil change, change the filter, flush the coolant. I also flushed the front and rear brake fluid to make sure that we're okay there, because brake fluid attracts moisture. And out here in New England, it's very humid, so it'll attract moisture very easily. And actually, after storage, I came in and checked, and like the first, I don't know, half inch or so was literally just water. So the good thing here is I don't have ABS on this bike. I've removed the ABS pump. So this brake line, front and rear, goes directly from the master cylinder straight down here to the caliper. So there's not a whole lot of place for air to get stuck in the bike. Same thing with up front. My lines go directly from the caliper up to the Brembo master cylinder here. So no ABS pump to worry about there. So fluids, filters and fluids, make sure they're okay. I've also removed and cleaned the air filter on this bike, so it's all set. Beyond that, you want to make sure that things are secure and do not fall off your bike. So if you noticed on this bike, a number of things are safety wired, but literally what I did over the past weekend, over the last couple of days, is every nut and bolt that I can get a tool on, I went and double checked and make sure that we're tight. I actually removed some of them and put thread locker on them so that they will not rattle out. The last thing you want to do is be on track, be riding down the track and have something blow off your bike and hit somebody in the behind you and cause them an accident or something else. You don't want that. So it's your responsibility to make sure that everything on your bike is secure. It is not tech inspection. It's not their responsibility to make sure. They're going to check a few things, but they're not going to check everything on your bike. So it's up to you. So I went through and literally checked everything. These fender bolts, the calipers, you can see that my calipers are safety wired. all of the Zeus fittings, all of the fittings for my controls up here. I made sure that they were all thread locked and tight. The fuel filler cap, tank bolts, all of the case bolts here, as well as the water pump. You can see that my oil fill cap is safety wired and my water pump drain plug is safety wired as well. I checked all the rear set bolts. You can see that my rear sets are safety wired. Subframe and exhaust hanger. Exhaust hanger is safety wired. I checked all of these bolts. Rear calipers were double checked and triple checked. I actually installed as well a DB killer here. So this is my full titanium exhaust, and I recently installed the DB killer. Now this bike isn't overly loud without the DB killer, but Palmer Motorsports Park has a DB limit, and I didn't want to take the chance and pop it. So it's not going to kill a whole lot of horsepower, so I went ahead and just installed the DB killer. So I checked the rear fairing, my external shock adjustment, double check that. The chain guard, as you can see, the rear axle nut is also safety wired. Again, the rear sets over here. Everything, again, that I can get my hands on, I double checked safety wired and made sure that we're snug and tight so that nothing would rattle out. Even my side stand, a lot of track bikes don't have a side stand, but I've done a couple of track days with the bike that doesn't have a side stand. You can't see it, but undercover over there is my Track MV F4 1000. It does not have a side stand, and I don't like it. I don't like it at all. When you're exhausted, you come off the track, you just want to put the side stand down and get off the bike. And now I got to muscle the bike around and roll it into a front wheel chock or slowly get off of it and find a rear. It's a pain in the ass. I don't like it, so I'll gladly keep my side stand. But check everything on the bike. What Tech Inspection is going to do is they're going to check your brakes, going to check your throttle. We'll go to the other side and look at the throttle in just a second. But I've inspected my brake pads, front and rear. Those are good as well. Check my throttle so you can see on the grips that they're already safety wired on both sides. That's so that the grip doesn't rotate and slide on you as you're holding onto the bike. So you want to make sure that those stay put. But check your throttle. If your throttle does not automatically snap back like that, if there's any delay and with it returning to the closed position, you will not pass Tech Inspection. You want to check your brakes, make sure that everything is good there. So this bike is pretty much set and ready to go. I just need to throw the cover on the underside of the tail section here. And then this bike will really just be ready to throw on the trailer. Now, one of the things I had to do with this bike that's not part of prep is I actually had to take the bike out on the street and ride it a little bit. And the reason being is I replaced the ECU in this bike recently. So my last track day, actually my last couple of track days, what I noticed is when this bike is leaned over on the side and you get on the throttle, it wants to sputter and cut out. And traction control is disabled. The bike doesn't have ABS. And, you know, I checked the tip over sensor and the lean sensors and all that stuff like that. And none of that was the issue. So what we're thinking is that the ECU is kind of wonky. And I say that because the original ECU in this bike was flashed by Alpha Racing twice, actually. The problem is that then I started having this problem with the bike leaned over, and I don't know what it is. So long story short, I reached out to Bren Tuning. I was just going to go with the Bren Tuning Flash and said, to hell with it. I won't deal with, you know, the Alpha Flash, and I'll just do the Bren Tuning Flash, and I won't worry about launch control because I wasn't really racing anyway. And then Bren Tuning got a hold of the ECU, and they said, I don't know what's going on with this ECU. There's things going on that we've never seen before. I'm not touching it. I'm afraid that I'm going to turn your ECU into a brick. So we're refunding your money. We're not going to touch it, which is a little bit disappointing, but I understand their point. Also saved me an ECU. So long story short, I went out and found an ECU, had it reprogrammed so that it worked with this ignition in this bike and this VIN. And now it's completely stock. There's no flash on it whatsoever. This bike does have a PC5 installed, and there's a generic map on this bike for that PC5, but I really like to get rid of that PC5 because I'd like to add some other sensors for my i2M Chrome Pro 2, and the wires for that need to go under the seat here, and there's a lot of crap under here right now. So I have my PC5, I have the wires currently for my i2M Chrome Pro 2, there's my ProTune auto blipper wiring in here, so it's getting a little crowded up under the seat here, and I'd much rather not have the PC5 in the deal at all. But anyway, I installed the new ECU, and I had to take it for a ride to make sure that everything was okay. And good thing that I did, because as soon as I turned on my auto blipper and downshifted, the bike went into limp home mode. So I had to restart it, bring it back up here. Not a big deal. All I did was I grabbed my GS911 tool and I cleared the adaptations and just relearned them again, took it for another ride, and everything was fine. So if you own an S1000RR and you do any work on it yourself, you should have a GS911 tool. That tool is phenomenal. It allows you to read error codes. It allows you to reset values. You need a GS911. So if you got an S1000RR and you do any work on it yourself, get yourself a GS911. The older ones are really cheap. They're like $200 less if it's pre-owned, or just spend, I think it's like $350, maybe $400 for the newer ones that are wireless and all this other happy horse shit. Anyway, that has nothing to do with prep. I just want to let you guys know that. So that's really it with this bike. It doesn't need anything more in terms of prepping and checking bolts and flushing fluids and things of that nature. Now, what I do need to do with this bike before, again, it's Monday, so before, I'd say Thursday, I do need to set rider sag on it. Now, I do this every year, and the reason that I do this every year is because your suspension wears a little bit, you know, the fluids get a little bit old and things start to settle and so forth. So the settings that I did last year probably aren't the same now. Not only that, we're in the time of COVID. I've been in the house a lot. Your boys put on some weight, so I weigh a little bit more. So I need to reset rider sag so I can get to a decent baseline, and that way I'll know where I'm adjusting from once I get to the track. So I have my Mo tool, slacker tool here, because I often operate by myself. And without that tool, I wouldn't be able to set sag. So sag is typically a 2-person job, sometimes a 3-person job. So as a rider, I would get in all my gear, helmet and so forth. I'd sit on the bike and someone would take a measurement. Then I'd get off the bike, we'd lift it all up and they'd take another measurement. And we combine those two values, and based on, you know, with the results of those two values, you're either within spec or you're out of spec, and you make adjustments based on that. Well, if you're sitting on the bike, you know, I'm the rider. If you're sitting on the bike, you can't do the measurements. And if you get off the bike, then you can't be the person to lift the bike and take the measurements again to, you know, to top out the suspension. So it's typically a 2-person, sometimes a 3-person job. And the slacker tool makes it a 1-person job. So that's really awesome. So, well, all right, guys, I think we can wrap up for this video. My next video will most likely be a what's in my track day trailer and what I put in there and what I take with me and so forth. I'm not going to do the setting the sag and with the slacker tool. I've already done a video like that, and slacker/Mo tool has plenty of videos out there on how to do that. So I won't do that video. I'll just go right to what's in my track day trailer and so forth. But that is it for this bike, guys. So again, tires, fluids, filters, tightening up all the bolts and so forth to make sure that everything is ready. And then if you can, take your bike out for a spin. Start the bike, take it for a quick spin up and around your block or whatever, just to make sure that everything is okay. Make sure that you don't have any leaks or that you haven't missed something. Just, you know, a quick shakedown run around your neighborhood. Don't take it for like a, you know, a 20-minute ride around town. Otherwise you get pulled over and you're screwed. So, but take it for a quick ride up the street, just a shakedown, because again, there may be something that you may have missed, like I did with the ECU. But that's it, guys. I'm Derek. This is my channel, Euro Superbike Life. You guys know the drill. Like, comment, share, subscribe, or smash the video if you're into that kind of thing. Be sure to click that bell so that you get updates for all my future videos. But until next time, guys, take care.